All right. Thank you for those of you who have been patient and who have joined me for Space Chat before and know that every once in a while, Facebook and other sites decide to do their own thing, and so we have to roll with the punches. So thank you for being patient. Not using my fancy microphone today because of those reasons. Sorry, fancy microphone. But welcome to Space Chat. I'm going to give everyone a minute or two to log on, especially seeing as we are a few minutes past schedule. Again, sometimes technical issues are just out of our control, but I really appreciate everyone for joining anyway. Those of you that are excited about Virgin Galactic, that are excited about, fingers crossed, Hubble Space Telescope, and all kinds of other things that are happening in space right now. So, thank you for joining me, and without further ado, welcome to Space Chat. So for those of you who haven't heard, billionaire Richard Branson is about to kick off the Billionaire Space Blitz. Also, methane is in the plume of Saturn's moon Enceladus that could mean life, and Hubble is continuing to struggle on. So there's a lot happening in space this week. Hi, I'm Chelsea, and welcome. If you've been here before, things might look a little different. Today's a little different in general, but we are changing things up every single week. This time, every Friday, I will be here, or somewhere even cooler, telling you what's new in space and, more excitingly, answering your questions. So I'm going to be talking a bit, and then at the end, I'm going to answer as many of the questions that you put in the comments down below as I can get through. So again, at any point during Space Chat, ask me a question. All right, without further ado, what's new in space? For those who tuned in last week or tuned in early today, you might know about this summer's Billionaire Space Blitz with both Richard Branson, who founded the Virgin Group of companies that includes Virgin Galactic, and Jeff Bezos, who founded Amazon and Blue Origin, flying to space. Now, the first of these flights is upon us, and it's set for this upcoming Sunday, July 11th. The mission, called Unity 22, will be taking off less than 2 weeks ahead of Blue Origin's New Shepard crewed suborbital launch. The mission will launch from Virgin Galactic Spaceport America in New Mexico. And the mission won't just carry Richard Branson to space. I will also carry mission specialists Beth Moses, who is Virgin Galactic's chief astronaut instructor, Colin Bennett, who will help to evaluate equipment and procedures and the experience during the mission, and Sarisha Bandla, the Vice President of Government Affairs and Research Operations at the company. So we've got a crew of 4, and I'm very excited for them. Now, Unity 22 will get to space aboard its mothership, VMS Eve, which will get the space plane up to 50,000 feet before letting it go to rocket up to space. Now, there has been some discussion over whether or not Virgin Galactic's flight will really reach space, as it won't cross what's called the Kármán line, which, Virgin Galactic's previous Unity flights have reached altitudes over 50 miles above Earth's surface. And by NASA standards, as well as the FFA and US military standards, that means that everyone on board is qualified to get their astronaut wings. However, some others have been questioning this, as some others consider the boundary of space to be a bit higher at something called the Kármán line. Now, this isn't a physical line, you can't see it, it's an imaginary line, that is 62 miles above Earth's surface, just a little bit above where this mission will be going. But again, it will be going high enough for people on board to get their astronaut wings. So what do you think? Is it going to space? Is it going to just space and back? I know there's a lot of different opinions out there. Now, fueling the competition between these two companies, some have pointed out this difference. And I'm curious to see what will happen, because while Virgin Galactic will be going over this astronaut line, Blue Origin will be flying well above the Kármán line, which some others say is the boundary of space. I'm actually going to be at this Sunday's Virgin Galactic launch in person, so keep your eyes peeled for some fun, live, and other videos from Spaceport America in New Mexico as the clock ticks down to launch time. And if you have any questions that I don't get time to answer today about the launch, about this race to space, feel free to drop them on space.com's social media channels, and I might answer them live from the launch pad. Now, This billionaire space race might seem like the only thing happening in space right now, but it's really not. Now, scientists studying data from NASA's Cassini spacecraft, which previously flew around Saturn and its moons, studying and imaging them in detail before making a planned grand finale death dive towards the planet, they think that the methane that is puffing out of Saturn's moon Enceladus as part of these large plumes that we know that it emits could actually be a sign of life below the moon's subsurface ocean. Now, methane can be created in many ways, sometimes geologic and other ways that don't involve life at all, but we also know that on Earth, methane can also be created by life. Now, in a new study, researchers actually built mathematical models to assess the probability that Enceladus's methane is created biologically or by living organisms. Now, they don't have a definitive answer yet. We didn't discover life on Saturn's moon. However, this team did find that abiotic or without life explanations for the methane just don't seem to fit very well, which is interesting. Now, another weird space event is that a rare hypernova explosion was detected on the edge of our Milky Way galaxy for the first time ever. Now, this blast, which we suspect was within the first billion years after the Big Bang, which is the early universe, they suspected it was 10 times more powerful and brighter than a typical supernova explosion, hence its hyper name. Now, this ancient explosion is suspected to have happened less than a billion years after the Big Bang, which is very early in the universe's history. The star must have created such an explosion, which must have been meant that the object creating must have been massive, rapidly spinning, and have a powerful magnetic field. Which they also found. Now, in a catastrophic event, gonna get some water. I talk a lot, I run out of water. Crazy. Now, in a catastrophic event that is far from ancient or from the early universe, the Hubble Space Telescope is still in trouble. It's continuing to face issues related to a glitch that was detected on June 13th that has since caused the telescope's operations to be suspended while they investigate the root cause of the issue. This is the most serious trouble that the telescope's had in decades. In fact, on June 13th, when the telescope halted operations, they think that it may have happened because of a memory module in a computer on board from the 1980s. However, that is still a suspicion. They don't know exactly what's going on with Hubble. Now, over 3 weeks since this glitch, NASA teams are still working diligently to nail down exactly what's going on with the telescope, which hasn't been repaired since 2009. With so much at stake, Hubble has been a pillar of scientific exploration and discovery since it deployed in 1990, NASA is taking its time and doing things right. However, while it might take some more time, NASA does seem confident that it will eventually get Hubble back online. In fact, Paul Hertz, NASA's director of astrophysics, recently said in a Space.com interview, other than the fact that this particular anomaly means the observatory can't work until we solve it, I don't think solving it is different in kind than other anomalies that NASA deals with. In other words, yes, it means that Hubble's temporarily offline, but it's nothing too big for them to handle. So my fingers are crossed for Hubble. I hope yours are as well. So that's been a little taste of what's been new in space this past week. Now we get to my favorite part of Space Chat, your questions. If you haven't gotten a chance yet to ask your questions in the comments down below, please pop them down into the comments. I want to hear them. I want to know what you're curious about. There is no such thing as a stupid question. I promise you I've heard it all. So I'm going to turn to my screen down here and I'm going to start reading through some of your questions and hopefully giving you some kind of helpful answers. All right. Okay. All right. Muhammad asks, are NASA lunar landings true? How do we make sure they're true? Yes, NASA has landed on the moon a number of times with its Apollo program back in the 60s and 70s. NASA has not put humans on the moon since 1972, but it is hoping to do so again with Artemis. Now, how do we know that NASA really landed on the moon? Well, there's a million and one ways we can prove that it's true, including tons of video of it literally happening in real time. But another really interesting way we can tell is those spacecraft that they were on the moon in, those moon buggies, all of that equipment, all of that gear, even some active scientific experiments that we're still getting data from, they're still on the moon's surface. Those Apollo astronauts put them there in the 60s and 70s, and they're still there. You know, the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. The moon is not like Earth, and so they've just been sitting there, no weather, just hanging out. Yes, and in fact, there are still experiments that Apollo astronauts left on the moon's surface that we're still getting data from. So yeah, there are a ton of really interesting ways that we can prove that the Apollo landings were real, but we all know that they are. And again, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the lunar pudding, sorry. All right, Richard asks, what's the radiation like that high up in the atmosphere? I'm presuming you're talking about these upcoming suborbital flights. So, you know, they will be in space. They'll be crossing a boundary of space. And as we leave Earth's protective atmosphere, as we leave this bubble, yes, there is increased exposure to radiation. You know, astronauts on the space station, astronauts that flew with the shuttle, astronauts that went to the moon, and future astronauts have and will continue to unfortunately experience increased radiation. However, there are ongoing dozens of studies and technology demonstrations to try to find new and inventive ways to prevent astronauts from getting health complications and to really protect them from this radiation. Now, with the suborbital flight this weekend, they're going up, they're coming back very quick. So while they're above that boundary, it's increased radiation, it doesn't seem to be of concern to the companies or the crew on board. It's a very quick trip to space and back, but interesting question. All right, wow, you guys got a lot of good ones. All right, Sarah asks, would the COVID-19 virus be able to exist in space? Interesting question. Now, in the vacuum of space, nothing can really survive that we've found. Tardigrades can last a whopping 13-ish minutes, and they're some of the toughest creatures that we've ever spotted. So, you know, something like a virus probably wouldn't last that long in the vacuum of space, whatever virus it may be. However, when we talk about things like the International Space Station, like the future gateway around the moon, like spacecraft, space missions, those enclosed areas with humans, and humans are breeding grounds for all different types of microbes. We need them to survive. You know, there is concern around what astronauts could bring up to space with their crew. And that's why astronauts, as part of any mission, but especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, take the pre-flight quarantine very seriously. We've all come to know the term quarantine this past year, but astronauts have been quarantining before their missions for decades to make sure that they don't bring any bugs to space, and back in the Apollo era, make sure they don't bring any bugs home from space. So there is concern, but there are a ton of precautions to make sure that everyone is safe. All right. Sorry if I'm talking a little bit fast. I just, you know, I've got a late start today and I want to make sure that everyone gets all the fun space information they can. All right. Interesting. All right, Alicia asks, thanks for the updates. What are the most needed educational majors that could benefit future funding with NASA space study to help? I guess you're curious, like if you're really interested in space, what you might study to be a part of everything like this. And that's a great question. And it's not as narrow as it used to be. It used to be, you know, to work at NASA, you had to get a specific type of engineering degree, plus other degrees, etc. But at NASA and at other space companies and partners and astronauts have a wide variety of educational backgrounds under the STEM umbrella: science, technology, engineering, and math. You know, there are marine biologists that have gone to space, chemists, all different types of engineers and scientists and explorers. So that is really opening up. So really pursue your passion, explore what you like. There's so much under that STEM and STEAM, including art, umbrella that connect to space. So many things. Food science. Astronauts need to eat food. NASA has a whole food science department. All right. Oh, Bruce, love your show. Thank you, Bruce. It's very nice of you. Amelia, what do you think about asteroid mining? Ooh, interesting question. Personal opinions, I don't know. It's a tricky subject. I don't think that we should exploit space. I think that, the final frontier is there for exploration and discovery, and I think it's amazing to pursue our human nature and continue to learn more about ourselves and the universe. And asteroid mining, and it's possible that might contribute to science and understanding. It is also possible that it might be more business-oriented, which I do not particularly care for. But again, personal opinion. All right, Aina, just calling to say hello. Hello to you too, Aina. Okay, Alex, why does NASA not accept UFO appearances and the existence of extraterrestrial bases on the moon? So NASA is very open about talking about UFO sightings and investigations. In fact, there was just that huge report that came out from the Pentagon about an investigation into UFO sightings. When we're talking about UFOs, unidentified flying objects, also known as UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, are not unheard of. They're not fake. It just means that saw something in the air, you cannot explain it. But NASA is a science-minded agency. And until we have definitive proof that a UFO or other sighting or other observation is because of the presence of some type of extraterrestrial life, they can't do that without 100% confirmation and proof. But NASA is actively searching. I mean, NASA just in February sent its Perseverance rover to Mars with the explicit intention of looking for signs of life. So NASA would be just as excited as us to find that concrete proof of life off of Earth. And I hope that they do that. So, interesting question. All right, lots of questions. All right, Mark, what about exploratory moon vehicles? Do you know of any? Yeah, well, the last time humans were on the moon, again, was with the Apollo program. I assume you mean human exploration in vehicles on the moon. Could be wrong, could be talking about rovers. But Apollo astronauts, there were all different types of moon buggies that they literally drove around the moon to explore, to take images and video, to collect rock samples that they later returned to Earth, etc. And there are plans in the works. NASA is actually working with commercial partners to build vehicles for its future, not too far in the future, new human landings on the moon. So I'm excited to see what the new moon buggies or new lunar vehicles might look like and what they could do. Who knows? They could be so much more capable. I'm really, really excited. Oh, wow. So many cool questions. Okay. All right, Steve is wondering about an elevator from Earth to the moon. Space elevators have been a topic of conversation in sci-fi for quite a long time, and people talking about, are they possible? Could it possibly be possible? Could we do this elevator to the moon? I can't say with certainty. Again, this seems like something that at least with our current technology is probably still science fiction. There are probably easier ways for us to get to the moon than via an elevator, and who knows? We're still working on just getting humans back to the moon with Artemis, so I would be patient on that one. All right, honey, can scientists still see the Amumua asteroid? Is there another coming to Earth? So Amumua never really got close to Earth. For those who don't know, Amumua starts with an apostrophe if you're looking to look it up. It was our first ever confirmed sighting of a rock from another solar system in our solar system. It looked like a giant cigar. It flew, within our eyesight, not from the ground, but using telescopes and such, and powerful observing technology. It never came dangerously close. There was never a close encounter, but we did learn quite a bit from Amumua. And while it has since passed us, scientists are continuing to analyze and study the data that they collected from those observations. Wow, you guys got a lot of great questions today, man. All right, let me see. Wow, you guys got tons of questions. Holy cow. Oh, Susie asks a great question about this weekend's upcoming Virgin Galactic flight. Here it's very hot. Staying hydrated. I suggest you all do the same. All right, so will the passengers of this weekend's Virgin Galactic flight feel 0 Gs or microgravity? Now, why do I say 0 Gs or microgravity? It's the same whether you're just over the boundary of space or even on the International Space Station, because those astronauts are in low Earth orbit or suborbit, and they're still relatively close to Earth, even though they might be floating around without gravity for the most part. There is a microscopic little gravitational force still in play. So that's why you don't usually call it 0 G's fully, instead we call it microgravity, but it's still totally weightless, pretty much no gravity. So the passengers on board Unity 22 this Sunday, the Virgin Galactic flight, they will get, I believe, maybe 4 minutes, if I remember correctly. They will get a few minutes of weightlessness as they cross that boundary into space, lift above, Earth's atmosphere, float around a little bit, experience what that is like before coming back to Earth. And Sarisha, who's going to be on board, will have an experiment, I believe from the University of Florida. Let me just double check. I don't want to be wrong about that. Beep, 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 beep. Yep, from the University of Florida. That will be kind of taking advantage of those moments of weightlessness to collect data. And that's actually a hugely powerful part of suborbital flights. People say, oh, well, they're just going up and back. Like, what is it, like it's a big roller coaster ride? And while for some it might be, there is actually a lot of science that goes up on suborbital flights. There have been uncrewed suborbital flights launching for quite some time, and researchers can conduct and also put a lot of scientific equipment and experiments and investigations on board those flights. And even if they're just in microgravity for a few brief minutes or moments or whatever it may be per the flight, that can be extremely, extremely valuable data depending on if it's fluid dynamics, technology experiments, whatever it may be. So while suborbital flights might not seem as exciting as going around the Earth or going to the moon or the space station, there is still a lot of really cool science that happens on these flights and that can happen on suborbital flights in general. And I hope to see more of that. I really, really do. Holy cow, you guys got a lot of good questions. Thank you for all of your questions. You're all very, very interesting and have really, really great questions, seriously. Okay, Vivek, is there any program developing to send humans to Mars? Yes, NASA, SpaceX, other space agencies, everyone's trying to get to Mars. But the reason we're talking about the moon so much, and Artemis, NASA's Artemis program, returning humans to the moon, is because a lot of people think that using the moon as kind of a jumping off point might be the best way to get to Mars. So by creating a sustainable human presence on the moon, people at places like NASA think that it might be more possible and more feasible and a better idea to use that as a jumping off point to get to Mars. There's lots of ways to get to Mars, and that's one that they're looking at right now. Oh my goodness. All right, Rajat is asking about Drake's equation and the probability of intelligent extraterrestrial life. And they ask, could life on Earth really be just by chance and the only life in the universe? What do I think? I think, personal opinion, that it would be unlikely, statistically improbable for humans and for life on Earth, all the other critters and creatures, to be the only organisms in the entire universe. When we talk about the universe, it makes our solar system look microscopic, right? I mean, our solar system is just a speckle of dust in a massive, enormous galaxy. And that galaxy is just one, again, grains of sand on a beach. The universe is so immeasurably vast and ever expanding. I think, from what I know and from what I have read, that it would be unlikely for there to be absolutely no life anywhere else in the entire universe. Now, does life in the universe look like it does on Earth? Does it look like our microbes? Does it look like our animals? Does it look like anything else? I don't know. Life elsewhere in the universe could look so different, we might not even recognize it at first. But I do think that it is likely out there somewhere. All right, Bruce, fingers crossed for Hubble. Mine as well, fingers crossed. I have full faith in the Hubble team. Hubble's been kicking a long time. Hubble's been going over 30 years now, just past the 30-year mark in 2020, I believe. And I have full faith in their team to fix this glitch. All right. Oh my God. Okay, someone's asking if you can hear farts in space. I don't know how to answer that. In the vacuum of space, probably not. In the vacuum of space, I'm not sure how the dynamics of that situation would work in general. The astronauts on the space station don't particularly like to talk about things like this, but you can hear people talk in space, so I will leave that up to your imagination. Okay, Don asks, any idea what direction the flight path will take and where it will be visible from the ground? I'm presuming you're talking about this weekend's Virgin Galactic launch. So it will be going up and going back down. It will be a fairly simple flight path from their facility in Spaceport America. I'll try to maybe drop it in the comments later, but we have it in our articles about the flight, some infographics and some imagery that kind of show that trajectory. It's very simple, up and back, one little roller coaster ride, and it will be visible from the ground. Obviously not the entire way up. You're not going to see, standing on the ground, the spacecraft cross that line and go over that hump super clearly, but you will see it ascend, go up, and then come back down. I don't yet know the exact range of visibility, how far it will be visible from, how far away you might be and still be able to see it. But I'll be there live on the ground, and I'll be trying to go live on here as much as possible to keep you all in the loop and hopefully show you around Spaceport America and give you a little window into what it's going to be like. All right. Greg, ooh, really interesting question. In space, how do they designate what's up and what's down? Now, if this question seems strange to you, in microgravity, without gravity, when you're weightless and floating, as we see astronauts in space do, your brain has some difficulty making sense of that, right? Our bodies and our brains are designed to work with gravity. So, for instance, if you're on the International Space Station, the astronauts, it's a lot of adjustment. And with microgravity, you can't really tell what's up and what's down. I actually flew on a zero-G flight this past year, and I can confirm that sensation, that feeling is real. It's very bizarre, it's very strange. You really don't know directionally up and down, and of course, they get used to it over time. But astronauts have been known to sleep upside down, eat upside down, hang out upside down. You'll often see them on NASA TV doing press conferences and other interviews, and they'll be upside down, twirling around, spinning around, and that's because microgravity is weird and direction is weird with the absence of gravity. Gravity pulls everything down. When it's not there, what is down? It no longer exists. But very, very interesting question. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see if we have time for some more. Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you all for your amazing questions and for joining me on Space Chat Live. Next Friday and every Friday, I will be here or somewhere cooler, going live with Space Chat and answering your questions. And this weekend, keep your eyes peeled because I will be going live from Spaceport America at the Virgin Galactic launch, which I am personally just very excited about, and I look forward to all of your questions. I hope that you all have a wonderful week.